This episode of Bill Whittle Now is brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com, but also with some assistance from our friends over at the Patriot Post, America's News Digest. Check it out when you get a chance today, the Patriot Post. I'm Scott Ott with Bill Whittle, and Bill, this one's a little bit offbeat and kind of surprising. Dana Bash is a reporter, a political correspondent at CNN, and Dana Bash is going to be consulting with NBC in the production of a new drama called The Hill. And let me just describe to you how it's described to me here at Variety.com, which is a kind of a trade paper for the industry. Titled The Hill, the series is described as a character drama that lives at the supercharged intersection of media and Capitol Hill, where everything is transacted: information, sex, love, fame, and power. And the series focuses on people who make this world home. Bill, CNN correspondent Dana Bash, what kind of transactions do you think she has going on that would give her insight into this?
I don't know, but I'll tell you, when you gave me the description, I thought at first, and I still think it's probably a documentary.
Well, it says drama.
No, read. Can you read the intersectional stuff again, the juicy stuff?
It doesn't mention intersectionalism, but here we go. The character drama that lives at the supercharged intersection of media and Capitol Hill, where everything is transacted: information, sex, love, power, and something else. Fame. Information, sex, love, power, and fame. The five horsemen of the Hollywood apocalypse. I would really like to remember those because it's pretty much it verbatim. It is a documentary. And here's the thing about these kind of things. All of the lewdness and all of the, just plain narcissism and the double dealings and all the rest of the stuff that actually typifies real Hollywood are there. But the real Hollywood is nothing like that interesting. Nothing like. It's a much more dreary and drab and mechanical kind of transactional business. Now, forgive me, are you talking about Hollywood or Washington, D.C.?
I'm sorry, there's a difference between the two?
I just wanted to clarify for our viewers.
When I say Washington, D.C., I'm talking about Swamp, D.C., not Trump, D.C., and it's an ancient saw. It's not going to be an insight to really anybody unless you've been in a coma for a while. But basically, Washington and Hollywood are drawn to each other. One trades fame and the other trades power. And those are the two things that seduce the other side. A lot of politicians want to be famous. They want to be seen with the glamorous icons of Hollywood, and George Clooney and Matt Damon and Meryl Streep are more than happy to oblige. And then these same actors want the gravitas of being, a part of and rubbing shoulders with the people who are making the actual decisions. I recall, I'm almost positive it was Barbara Streisand, but I'm not 100% sure. But there was during the President Bill Clinton days, there was some sort of meeting where he was going to come out and talk with Hollywood celebrities about some things. And I think, again, this is how I remember the story. Barbara Streisand was outraged that Bill Clinton had invited Sharon Stone, and Barbara Streisand said, "Sharon Stone, what does she know about policy?" I'm going to go way out on a limb here and assume that Sharon Stone was not invited by Bill Clinton because of her policy experience. But it begs the question of what makes Barbara Streisand think she has any. So the whole thing is just another rehashing of the West Wing, right? It's the West Wing again. It's going to be the liberal fantasy of what things should be like in Washington, and this time they're going to have to deal with unless they decide to make it a progressive president, they're going to be the stalwart resistance fighting for the rights of the little guy in an era of Trumpist fascism and intimidation, and they won't be cowed because they're a scrappy bunch of fill in the blanks, and it doesn't sound to me like the kind of drama that I must make time in my schedule to see.
Now, Bill, at first I thought, because I went to college for journalism and secured
that was your mistake.
A prized journalism degree from a major state university. But at first I thought, wow, this really seems like a conflict of interest, because essentially Dana Bash, in her role as a consultant for this NBC drama, The Hill, is going to be kind of dishing to these writers about what she knows behind the scenes, stuff that's not coming out on the newscast, so to speak. But then it occurred to me, Bill, that no doubt the news operations have brought in consultants from Hollywood to make their shows more appealing. So what's wrong with having expertise in a particular area and availing yourself of it?
Well, nothing really. And first of all, it was just so gratifying and charming to hear that note of like surprised disbelief, that she might be passing secrets to the production staff, when everybody knows that it's proven fact that CNN passed actual debate questions to Hillary Clinton's team under the table. So the idea that CNN is somehow this reputable news source that is tainted by this association with Hollywood just never even entered my head. So bless your heart, Scotty. There's nothing wrong with hiring consultants. There is, in fact, unless this woman, I guess where I end up on this is, if CNN wants to continue to employ her and they want to employ her for the TV show, both of that is their business. They're not revealing national security secrets. They're talking about things and trends and innuendo and rumor and so on. And to be honest with you, if they were to write scripts based on what Donald Trump actually has said and done, they'd be a lot kinder to Donald Trump than the scripts they would write if they had to invent this stuff. So I don't see any particular problem in that. And the reason I don't see any problem with that is because CNN as a news source, as an independent news source, and the Hollywood industry as a representative of the American people are two ideas that were once true, but have been so far gone for the last 20 years now that it doesn't cause me any particular shock whatsoever.
Now, Bill, there's an interesting phenomenon here, because if NBC had hired Dana Bash to be a consultant, then it makes some sense. She's got some expertise in this area that they're doing the show about, and they want to make it as accurate as possible. However, it wasn't just that. They announced it. It's in Variety.com. They're making a big deal about the fact that Dana Bash is their consultant. Won't that make viewers watching this new drama, The Hill, look at this and think, gee, I wonder who that is that they're portraying here. I wonder if that's really that guy. Who's sleeping with whom? Who's trading deals here? Won't it immediately give them sort of a credibility imprimatur that will make people naturally gossip and speculate?
Well, the imprimatur of credibility is something that has long left the station, Scott. That train is pulling into Bangkok now. That train has gone a long time ago. What the producers of the show, you have to understand also that when you're dealing with this kind of a pre-launch press release, the only reason that this is being talked about, the only reason it's in Variety, the only reason the producers are trumpeting it, not because she's going to bring tremendous insights to the table. I suspect she hasn't got anything to bring to the table. But what it does is it titillates the progressive audience by saying, here's somebody who knows the real dirt on what's going on Donald Trump. And even though we're not allowed to cover it in the news because, news, we're going to show you what's really going on in the Trump White House and in Trump's Washington, and it is more filthy you can possibly imagine. And we've got an actual DC insider to give us all of the scoop, and it's a gossip column. I don't think that this person has any particular wealth of information, and I certainly don't think she brings anything of value to the show, except for the ability for the show's producers to say that we have a DC insider feeding us the dirt. And that's the entire thing we're seeing here. This is how this bootstrapping operation of a press release works. It's just constantly playing one nothing against another nothing until finally all these nothings agree, and now you've got something.
Well, Bill, just to wrap this up, let me ask you a question sort of outside of the political realm in a way. As a professional writer, you being a writer, what do you think of the general trend in television drama and movies, it seems, of making everything ripped from today's headlines. It's as if the newscast provides an outline or a log line or a story concept, and then Hollywood goes and plays that out and expands upon it and dramatizes it. What does that do to the writing profession? What does it do to entertainment?
Well, it's like entertainment insisting on the rust-proof undercoating on your car, is what it is. It's the short-term game against the long-term gain. In other words, by saying this is ripped out of today's headlines, you can occasionally convince some people, wow, I better watch this because this is nearly the news. But what you're basically doing is you're dating that show. And the show can never be timeless. It can never be a show about deep issues because it's ripped from the day's headlines. And once the day's headlines are over, that's the end of the relevance of that show. Classic shows, great shows, which still exist, they just don't exist on network TV anymore, are about themes and characters, and they're about things that you care about. There's a large audience, has been since they were invented, continues today for soap operas. And soap operas are not particularly driven by nuances or subtlety or writing skills in terms of plot. The reason people stay with soap operas is because they become invested in the characters. They want to see what happens to the characters. And for a show to do that, a modern show to do that, you've got to have the guts and the money to basically say we're going to be an outlier for a season, maybe 2 seasons. But if we concentrate hard on story-driven episodes, and we can talk about politics, but we don't have to talk about the headlines. We can talk about the fundamentals that never change about politics. Then you could create a show like West Wing, which I didn't like at all, needless to say, but which was successful because it had compelling storylines that were timeless, and most importantly, it had a cast of characters that you cared about and that evolved over time. What they're doing with this thing is just openly saying we are essentially blurring the line further between the entertainment you see on CNN and the news that you see in a evening drama.
At some point, it suggests that maybe this show or a show like it appears on CNN.
Well, I don't think that's likely. And the only reason I think that's not likely is because we try our level best to tell the truth here. And I just don't think that's a product they're not only not interested in, I just don't think that's a product they're capable of selling under any circumstances anymore. I would not lower myself, Scott, and I would not lower you or the rest of our audience and taint our credibility by appearing on CNN.
I know I said final question earlier, but let me ask you one last thing. Let's say after Dana Bash watches this episode, which we know she faithfully does, she picks up the phone and calls your people and somehow gets in touch with you.
You're my people. So she calls you. Yes, go ahead.
What do you tell her, assuming she's stuck on taking this position as a consultant to this show? Mm-hmm. What do you tell her she should do in this role?
I would say just continue business as usual. Run with whatever is the most sensational. Since it's a drama, you don't have to verify any of the facts or anything, much like you wouldn't back at CNN. You can basically invent what you want to, suppress what you want to, and you'll have better looking people in the show than you do with the news anchors. But basically, I would say just stick to your guns and do what you know, which is invent the news, fictionalize the news, be sure to inject politics into everything, and be sure to do it in such a heavy-handed way that nobody can possibly mistake your intention. And then I think you'll be well on your way to a 2-season success, for which you'll be paid a boatload of money, and you will produce a show that you yourself will not remember the name of in 5 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, the folks who are members at BillWhittle.com have made this and some 4 shows every month possible. They also run their own dynamic blog on a private website. You can join them by going to BillWhittle.com and clicking that Become a Member link. We're also going to include a link to our friends over at the Patriot Post in the description of this video. We thank them as well. For Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks for watching.